What inspired you to take this practice further? I mean, you said you already had something on the website, and now you've gone quite a bit further ahead with it, it sounds like.
Well, there are a couple of reasons. One reason is it's a very simple practice that's very easy to incorporate into a sitting practice's routine. In fact, it doesn't not have to be AYP, deep meditation, that this practice comes after. It can be used by anybody that's involved in a serious meditation practice. So one of the things I wanted to do by having this book was to have a book dedicated just to Samyama. The first Advanced Yoga Practices book is a 500-book textbook, and Samyama is just one of several dozen techniques that are in there. Not everybody may want to go through all of that just to study this particular practice. So all of the AYP Enlightenment series books were developed for that reason, to provide individual books on individual practices, where you could just pick up a book on meditation, or pick up a book on spinal breathing, or pick up a book on yoga postures and mudras and bandhas. And this is one you can just pick up and read for Samyama. Now, it also expands on the practice quite a bit. The initial practice is about a 5 to 10 minute practice that's done after meditation and involves a specific list of how should we say, code words that are used mentally to develop particular influences and purifications in the nervous system.
So is this like a mantra or seed syllables?
Well, we call them sutras.
Okay.
But they are seed syllables, but they're more than syllables, because in Samyama you're working with meaning, which is very different than what you're doing in deep meditation. In deep meditation, you're using a sound not for its meaning, but for its vibrational effect inside when you think it on very subtle levels of the mind. With Samyama, you are also operating on a very subtle level of the mind, but you're implanting meaning there. And so the Samyama Sutras, and there are 9 of them in the initial or core practice in AYP, those are done in sequence using a particular technique, and it takes 5 to 10 minutes to do that, and that's the practice. Now, as far as what else the new book gets into, it gets into some expanded modes of practice of Samyama that you can use with your yoga postures, for example. There's also a practice that is similar to the yoga nidra practices that are out there, which most of which are guided meditations where you use a CD or a teacher to take you through a routine of picking up points, locations in your body and outside your body, and developing what's called yoga nidra, which means yogic sleep, or having the body totally at rest.
Now, a lot of what you've explained from your practices of Samyama are really quite different. And as we were talking before the show, we were saying, there's many paths up the mountain. And actually, we have to go on a break now, but I wanted to, when we get back, I'll just go over a little bit of what I understand of Samyama, and then we'll let you enlighten us with a bit more. We're going to go on a break now at 1360 WSAI, The Source. Welcome back to Yoga, the other 98%. My name's Will. We're here with Yogani. And we're talking about Samyama. It's a meditative practice. And now my understanding of Samyama, there's many different ways of understanding it. Basically, it seems like usually when I would look up the definition, it would be one-pointed concentration. And I've had a lot of success in using it in a way that helps me go into more of a witnessing kind of consciousness. For example, hunger, they say, is registered in the throat. The way that you have a signal of hunger is that you have some sensations in your throat, and so you would bring your attention, your one-pointed attention, to your throat, and just keep it there. And by zeroing in your attention into that spot, you actually separate yourself from it in a sense. You actually become a witness to it. And so this is one way that many yogis have been able to go days fasting, even months at a time fasting. Not that we need to do that, but it's just a technique. Maybe if it'll help you just get through your lunch, or if you can't get a lunch, it'll help you get through that time. Now, another way you could use that is if you have some sort of pain in your body. Maybe it's a chronic pain. For example, a friend of mine, he had some trouble with a tooth. It was about to be abscessed, and he just he learned Samyama, and he took his attention to the tooth, and he put his one-pointed attention there, and by going into it, finding the epicenter of the pain, he became a witness to it, and it would either dissolve completely, or it gets to a place where you're just kind of observing it and not being attached to it, or it's not a part of you. Now, Yogani has a different, I guess, I don't know, Yogani, is it all that different, what I'm talking about?
Well, it's not all that different. We're really working with the same principles that exist in all of us within our nervous system. So there is that underlying truth, if you will, of how things work within us. So if you put your attention on a particular sensation in the body and just rest there easily with it, like what you're describing, it will tend to unwind whatever imbalance is in that area. And that is, in fact, a technique that we use in relation to deep meditation.
Mm-hmm.
If there's some congestion somewhere that's sort of overpowering the practice of meditation. And that sounds similar to what you're talking about. In fact, it's interesting, you talked about subduing hunger, and if you look in Patanjali's Samyama Sutras, which is the third chapter out of 4 chapters in the Yoga Sutras, the sutra for subduing hunger and thirst is the trachea, which is the windpipe, which is right in that area you're talking about, the throat area. And in the book, we have an appendix where we have the 30 sutras that are in Patanjali's Samyama Sutras and sort of, how should we say, interpreted them into English so that they are much easier to use. And that was just one that you mentioned right there.
Mm-hmm.
But the technique that we use in AYP Samyama is a little different in that we just touch the sutra with awareness and release it, let it go into our inner silence. And having said that, one of the prerequisites for doing the AYP style of Samyama is to have some resident inner silence already present within you. And that's why we do it right after deep meditation, because deep meditation cultivates inner silence not only in the moment in our particular practice session, but also cumulatively over time. So if you're practicing deep meditation for a few months, 3 months, 6 months, whatever, you're going to have some of that stillness naturally there all the time, walking around 24 hours a day.